When my husband's attorney revealed his secret family at his will reading, I collapsed right there in front of everyone. Days later, I was digging through his private files planning my revenge. That's when I realized marriage is like a magician's trick. You're so focused on the hand holding your ring, you miss the one stabbing you in the back. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because trust me, this story twists more than a tornado in Texas. I used to love the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. That particular Tuesday, I woke to that familiar aroma wafting through our Victorian home, the one Enrique and I had renovated together over our 26 years of marriage. God, how quickly comfort can turn to ashes in your mouth. My name is Nora, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I knew my life. I thought I knew my husband. I was wrong about everything. Enrique died suddenly of a heart attack while on a business trip to Philadelphia. The funeral was a blur of black clothes and hollow condolences. I moved through it like a ghost, numb and disconnected, clutching the hand of our daughter Elise, who'd flown in from Seattle. Mrs. Vega, we need to discuss the reading of the will, Mr. Patterson had said at the funeral reception, his voice low as he adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. My office. Ivenudapsanli. Enrique had always handled our finances. He was meticulous, organized, private. It's boring business stuff, mi amor, he'd say whenever I asked. Nothing for you to worry about. Nothing to worry about. The memory of those words makes me want to scream now. I arrived at Patterson's office 15 minutes early. The waiting room smelled of leather and lemon polish. I recognized a few faces, Enrique's business partner, Marcus, his brother, Carlos, our longtime family friend, Fernando. But there were others I didn't know. A young woman, maybe 30, sat rigidly in the corner, a little boy about 8 beside her. They both had Enrique's eyes. Those unmistakable amber eyes that had once looked into mine and promised forever. Who invited them? I whispered to Fernando. Before he could answer, Mr. Patterson emerged from his office. Please come in, everyone, he said. We're ready to begin. I followed, legs suddenly wooden, a ringing in my ears drowning out everything else. Something was very wrong. I could feel it in the air, thick and suffocating as I took a seat at the large conference table. I had no idea I was about to become the last person in the room to learn about my husband's other life. Script part separator, Mr. Patterson cleared his throat as he adjusted his glasses. Before I begin the formal reading, I should inform everyone that Mr. Vega made certain amendments to his will 6 months ago. My stomach twisted. 6 months ago, Enrique had taken that extended trip to Miami. For work, he'd said. To my wife, Nora Vega, Patterson read, his voice clinical, I leave our primary residence and a trust of $1 million. $1 million. It sounded generous until I remembered Enrique's company was worth nearly $30 million. Where was the rest going? To my daughter, Elise Vega, I leave a trust of $2 million. I nodded. That seemed reasonable. My fingers gripped the armrests. To my son, Miguel Vega, I leave a trust of $5 million, to be administered by his mother, Lucia Hernandez, until he reaches the age of 25. The words hit me like physical blows. So, Miguel, Lucia. The room tilted. I heard gasps, felt eyes on me. The young woman, Lucia, stared at the table, her hand protectively around the boy's shoulders. My husband's son. A child who had his eyes, his smile. Additionally, to Lucia Hernandez, I leave our Miami Beach property and $2 million in recognition of her discretion and companionship these past 9 years. 9 years. 9 years. The remaining assets, including controlling interest in Vega Enterprises, will be divided equally between Miguel and Elise upon. Stop, I whispered, then louder, stop. I stood up, papers scattering. This is a mistake. There's been some terrible mistake. Patterson looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Vega, I assure you, these are your husband's wishes. He signed. My husband wouldn't do this, I said, my voice rising hysterically. Henrique Voldute. But then I saw the boy clearly for the first time. His posture, the way he tilted his head, so like Enrique it stole my breath. That's when I collapsed, right there on the polished hardwood floor of Patterson's office, in front of strangers who knew more about my marriage than I did. Script part separator Fernando helped me to a side office while someone called for water. I couldn't stop shaking. 9 years. While I was planning our 20th anniversary vacation, my husband was raising another child. While I was bringing him soup when he had the flu, he was maintaining another home. Another family. Did you know? I asked Fernando, my voice barely audible. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Nora, did you know? I grabbed his arm, digging my nails in. Not everything, he admitted. I knew he had connections in Miami. I never knew about the boy. Ilauguid, a horrible sound. Connections. Is that what we're calling it? The door opened, and Marcus stepped in, his face grave. Nora, I'm so sorry. This is unexpected for many of us. Lia, ispat. You were his best friend. His business partner. You expect me to believe you didn't know? Marcus looked at Fernando, some unspoken communication passing between them. We should get you home. I'm not going anywhere until I understand what's happening, I said, standing despite my shaking legs. That woman and that boy, they get half of everything. After what sacrificed for Henrique's company. I gave up my career. I moved 3 times for his expansions. Mrs. Vega. Patterson appeared in the doorway. Perhaps we should reschedule. No. I straightened my spine. We finish this now. Back in the conference room, Lucia and Miguel were gone. I felt hollow as Patterson detailed the rest. Properties I'd never heard of, accounts I didn't know existed. With each revelation, my marriage dissolved further into fiction. There's one more item, Patterson said, sliding a sealed envelope across the table. Enrique instructed this be given to you privately. I stared at my name in his familiar handwriting. Mi querida Nora. My dear Nora. The endearment felt like acid. Is there anything else? I asked, voice eerily calm now. Patterson hesitated. You should know, there's a 30-day contestation period for the will. But Enrique's documentation is very thorough. I clutched the letter. I need to go home. But I was beginning to understand. I no longer had a home. Just a house built on lies. Script part separator I didn't open Enrique's letter for 3 days. I sat in my kitchen, staring at walls filled with photographs of our life together, wondering which smiles were real. The phone rang constantly. I unplugged it. Elise came and went, her face a mirror of my devastation. On the 3rd night, with half a bottle of Enrique's favorite whiskey burning in my stomach, I tore open the envelope. Nora, it began. If you're reading this, I couldn't find the courage to tell you myself. For that, I am a coward. I laughed bitterly. At least we agreed on something. What started as a mistake became something I couldn't walk away from. Miguel is my son. I know this hurts you beyond measure, but he's innocent in this. I tried to balance my responsibilities to both families. I hurled the glass against the wall, shattering it. Both families. I screamed at the paper. I thought we were your only family. The letter rambled with pathetic justifications and hollow apologies. The final paragraph stopped my heart. I've instructed Patterson to provide limited access to company records. I know you never took interest in the business, but there are complicated matters I've shielded you from. The company faces challenges. For your protection, I've structured things this way. Please trust that I tried to take care of you, in my way. Protection. Challenges. His way. I dropped the letter, mind racing. Enrique wasn't just a cheater, he was hiding something about the business. Something big enough to shield me from. That night, I made 2 decisions. First, I would contest the will. Second, I would find out exactly what Enrique was hiding at Vega Enterprises. The next morning, I called Angela Weber, my oldest friend and a corporate attorney. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was her. Jesus, Nora, she said when I finished explaining. You need more than a friend right now. You need a shark. I need the truth, I said. And I need it before this 30-day deadline. Can you help me? I'll be there tomorrow, she promised. Don't sign anything. Don't talk to anyone. and Nora. Get ready for war. Script part separator equals. War sounded right. I was ready for it, ready to fight for what was mine, what I'd earned through decades of loyalty and sacrifice. Angela arrived the next morning with her briefcase and a determination that matched mine. We commandeered the dining room table, spreading out papers, creating timelines. First, she said, we need to understand exactly what Enrique was hiding about the business. She helped me draft formal requests for the company records Patterson had mentioned. While we waited, we dug through Enrique's home office, searching for any clue. Financial statements, tax returns, correspondence, anything, Angela instructed as we rifled through drawers. On the second day of our search, I found a hidden key taped beneath his desk drawer. It opened a small lockbox in his closet containing a flash drive and several folded documents. Jackpot, Angela vispere das plugged in the drive. What we discovered sent ice through my veins. Vega Enterprises wasn't just facing challenges, it was drowning in debt. Enrique had been moving money between accounts, taking out high-interest loans from questionable sources, and using company funds for personal expenses, including his Miami family. He was robbing Peter to pay Paul, Angela explained, pointing to transaction records. And he was about to get caught. The most damning discovery came in a folder labeled Meridian Project. Inside were falsified environmental reports for a major development in Arizona. Enrique had knowingly built on contaminated land, bribing officials to look the other way. This is criminal, Angela said, her face pale. If these properties are in your name, I could be liable, I finished, the reality crashing down. He wasn't protecting me by keeping me out of the business. He was setting me up to take the fall. 3 weeks after the will reading, we had our answer. Enrique hadn't just betrayed me with another woman. He'd constructed an elaborate scheme to protect himself and his secret family, potentially at my expense. The good news, Angela said grimly, is we now have leverage to contest the will. But as I stared at the evidence of my husband's corruption, I realized this went far beyond money. This was about justice and survival. Script part separator equals. The doorbell rang just as Angela and I were organizing our findings. I opened it to find Marcus standing there, expression unreadable. We need to talk, Nora, he said, not waiting for an invitation before stepping inside. When he saw Angela and the papers spread across the table, his face hardened. I see you've been busy. Just getting acquainted with my husband's real legacy, I replied coldly. Did you come to explain why you helped him hide all this from me? Marcus sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. I'm here to offer you a deal. Walk away from the will contest, sign over your shares in the company, and we'll make sure you're comfortable for life. Angela stepped forward. And why would she do that when we have evidence of fraud, embezzlement, and environmental crimes? His eyes flashed dangerously. Because that evidence could implicate Nora too. As Enrique's wife, she benefited from those funds. He never knew he started. Prove it, he snapped. Your signature is on joint tax returns. You lived in that house, wore those diamonds, took those vacations. My stomach dropped. He was right. I'd blindly signed whatever Enrique put in front of me. You have 48 hours to decide, Marcus said, heading for the door. After that, things get ugly. After he left, Angela turned to me. He's bluffing. They're desperate. But the seed of doubt was planted. What if he te prove my inocência? That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., I wandered into Enrique's study again. Something about Marcus's visit felt wrong. He'd been too confident, too prepared. I ran my fingers along the edge of Enrique's desk, remembering how he'd always say a man's desk was sacred space. Then it hit me, the hidden compartment he'd shown me years ago, installed by the previous owner. 4 love letters, he'd joked. My heart pounding, I felt beneath the ornate molding until I found the catch. The panel slid open, revealing a slim leather notebook. Inside, in Enrique's meticulous handwriting, was everything, dates, amounts, and names. Including Marcus's. Script part separator equals. They weren't just partners. They were conspirators. With trembling hands, I photographed every page before carefully returning the notebook to its hiding place. If Marcus came looking for it, I wanted him to find it exactly where he expected. The next morning, I showed Angela my discovery. "This changes everything," she said, eyes widening as she scrolled through the photos. Enrique documented Marcus's involvement in explicit detail. Dates, amounts, even meeting notes. Marcus wasn't just complicit, he was the architect of some of the worst schemes. Why would Enrique keep such damning evidence? I wondered. Insurance, Angela said grimly. If things went south, he could shift blame or bargain with prosecutors. It's actually quite clever. I felt sick. I'd hosted dinner parties for Marcus and his wife for 20 years. Their children had played with Elise. Now I realized that every conversation, every friendly gesture, had been calculated. "We need to move quickly," Angela said. "The 30-day deadline is approaching, and now we have Marcus making threats. I need to talk to Lucia," I decided suddenly. Angela looked alarmed. "The mistress? Nora, that's a terrible idea. She may not know what she's involved in either," I argued. What if Enrique was manipulating her too? After much debate, Angela reluctantly agreed to arrange a meeting on neutral ground, a quiet restaurant halfway between Miami and our town. 3 days later, I sat nervously at a corner table, watching the door. Lucia was punctual, arriving alone, her posture defensive. Up close, I could see the strain on her face. She was younger than me, but not as young as I'd feared. Not some 20-something homewrecker, but a woman nearing 40 with tired eyes. "Thank you for coming," I said, my carefully rehearsed opening suddenly inadequate. "I almost didn't," she replied, her accent lighter than I expected. "But I need to know why you wanted this meeting." I took a deep breath. "I think we've both been lied to, and I think we're both in danger. Script part separator ===. Her eyes narrowed. "What kind of danger?" I slid copies of some of Enrique's documents across the table. Financial fraud. Environmental violations. Things that could result in criminal charges. Lucia scanned the papers, her expression shifting from suspicion to alarm. "What does this have to do with me or Miguel?" "Everything," I said quietly. "The money, the property Enrique left you, it's all connected to these schemes. If investigators start digging, they'll follow the money trail straight to you." She paled. "I didn't know. He told me the Miami property was from a legitimate investment. Did he ever ask you to sign anything? Set up accounts in your name?" The flash of recognition in her eyes told me everything. "Some business papers for Miguel's trust fund. He said it was for tax purposes." "We need to see those papers," Angela interjected. Lucia stared at us, conflicted. "Why would you help me? You should hate me." I considered my answer carefully. I did. Part of me still does. But hatred won't protect my daughter or your son from what's coming. Enrique manipulated all of us. "Marcus has been calling me," she admitted, "pressuring me to sign additional papers. I've been avoiding him." Angela leaned forward. "That's not a coincidence. They're trying to clean up loose ends before everything explodes." "What do you want from me?" Lucia asked. "Information, and possibly your testimony," I said. "In exchange, we'll help ensure Miguel keeps his inheritance, legally." She studied me for a long moment. "How do I know I can trust you?" "You don't," I said honestly. "But right now, I'm the only person involved who doesn't have a reason to make you disappear." The starkness of my words hung between us. Finally, she nodded. "I'll need to get those papers from my safe deposit box." As we finalized plans to meet again, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Back off now or Elise learns about Costa Rica." My blood froze. Costa Rica, where Enrique had sent me for a relaxing vacation during the Meridian Project hearings. The one time I'd questioned him about business irregularities. Someone was watching us. Script part separator ===. I managed to keep my expression neutral as I slipped my phone back into my purse. Lucia didn't need to know we were being monitored. "We should go," I said calmly. "I'll have Angela contact you with secure meeting details." Outside, I showed Angela the threatening text. "They're getting desperate," she said, scanning the parking lot. "This proves we're on the right track." That night, I couldn't sleep.
De frete against Elise haunted me.
What did they have? What could they possibly use against my daughter? At dawn, I called her in Seattle. Mom, it's 4 a.m. here, she mumbled. I need to ask you something important, I said. Did Dad ever involve you in business matters? Any papers he asked you to sign?
A long pause.
Why are you asking this now?
Please, Elise.
It's important.
Another silence.
There was something, junior year of college. Dad set up an internship for me at an environmental lab. I just processed samples, but he asked me to sign some certification forms.
My heart sank.
For the Meridian Project. How did you know? Her voice was fully awake now. Mom, what's going on?
Pack a bag, e told her. Don't tell anyone where you're going.
Take a cab to the airport and get on the first flight to Florida.
You're scaring me.
Good. You should be scared. We all should be. Within hours, Angela had arranged for a security detail to meet Elise at the airport. Meanwhile, Fernando called unexpectedly. We need to talk, he said, his voice tight with urgency. Not on the phone. Meet me at the lighthouse. 1 hour.
Why should I trust you?
I demanded. Because I just found out what they did to Richard Chen.
The name hit me like a physical blow.
Richard Chen, Enrique's former accountant who'd relocated suddenly last year.
I'll be there, he said.
Script part separator,
The lighthouse sotto the stark against the grey sky, a sentinel overlooking the churning Atlantic.
I parked a quarter-mile away as a precaution, walking briskly despite the wind whipping my hair across my face. Fernando was already there, pacing anxiously. Richard Chen isn't in Singapore, he said without preamble. He's dead. My knees nearly buckled. What? Car accident in the mountains. Very convenient timing, right after he questioned some transfers between accounts. Fernando's eyes darted nervously around us.
Marcos arranged it.
I found emails. Why are you telling me this? Why now? Because I'm next. His voice cracked. They think I helped you access company records. Marcus called this morning with a fishing trip invitation for this weekend. The implication was chilling. You think they'd? I know they would.
He thrust a USB drive into my hand. Everything could download.
Bank transfers, shell companies, Marcus's offshore accounts. Lucia isn't the only one. There are at least 3 other families Enrique was supporting with company money. I felt dizzy. Blackmail. Some. Others were partnerships. Insurance policies. People who knew too much, paid to stay quiet. Fernando looked haunted. I didn't know how deep it went, Nora. I swear.
Where will you go?
Don't ask.
Better you don't know.
He gripped my arm. The hearing for the will contest is your one chance. They'll all be there, Marcus, Patterson, everyone involved. But you need to move it up. Now.
The deadline.
By next week, you might be joining Richard Chen. He backed away.
He never saw you. You never saw me. As Fernando disappeared down the rock pass, he clutched the USB drive like a feline.
The stakes had just risen from financial survival to something far more grave. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about staying alive long enough to expose the truth. Script part separator, I drove straight to Angela's office, constantly checking my rearview mirror for tails. The security guard gave me a strange look as I rushed through the lobby, clutching my purse against my chest like it contained the nuclear codes. We have a major problem, I said, bursting into her office.
Jesus, Nora, you look like you've seen a ghost.
I may have. I slid into a chair, my legs finally giving out.
Richard Chen is dead.
Marcus had him killed. Angela's face drained of color as I relayed Fernando's warning. We need police protection, she said, reaching for her phone. I grabbed her wrist. And tell them what? That my dead husband's business partner might be planning to kill me over corporate fraud we can't fully prove yet? They'll think I'm a hysterical widow. Then what's your plan? I pulled out the USB drive.
We accelerate everything.
Emergency petition to move up the will hearing. And we need to get Lucia and all her documentation here immediately.
Angela shook her head.
Courts don't just tell them I'm receiving death threats. It's not even a lie. While Angela made calls, I downloaded Fernando's files. What we found was worse than I imagined. The environmental crimes were just the tip of the iceberg. There was money laundering, bribes to government officials, and evidence suggesting Enrique and Marcus had deliberately tanked competitors through industrial sabotage. My phone rang, Elisa's number. Mom, there's a man following me at the airport. My heart stopped. Where exactly are you? Near baggage claim. He's been behind me since security. Is he wearing a blue jacket? Salt and pepper hair? Yes. How did you? That's your security detail.
Ired protection. Ie shaled slovely.
Go with him. He'll bring you to me. As I hung up, Angela returned, her expression triumphant. We got it. Emergency hearing tomorrow at 10 a.m. Tomorrow. My stomach lurched. That's too soon.
Iu ante de acceleration.
This is what we've got. She handed me a court order. Everyone named in the will is required to appear, including Marcus. I stared at the document, reality sinking in. In less than 24 hours, I would face everyone who had betrayed me, and some of them might want me dead. Script part separator ===. Tomorrow came too quickly. I barely slept, jumping at every creak in the house despite the security team stationed outside. Elise arrived around midnight, her face tight with worry as I explained what little I could. Mom, this is insane, she whispered. We should go to the FBI. After the hearing, I promised. Once we have everything documented in court. Morning arrived with a thunderstorm that matched my mood. Angela arrived early, bringing reinforcements, 2 paralegals and a forensic accountant who'd worked through the night organizing our evidence. Remember the plan, Angela said as we prepared to leave. No matter what they say, what accusations they make, stick to the facts. Let the documents speak for themselves. The courthouse was imposing, all marble and echoing hallways. Security escorted us to the courtroom where Judge Harriman, a stern woman with steel gray hair, was already reviewing files. One by one, they arrived.
Patterson looking nervous.
Lucia with Miguel, staying close to her attorney. Carlos, Enrique's brother, confusion etched on his face. And finally, Marcus, immaculate in an expensive suit, his smile confident as if this were a minor inconvenience. Quite the dramatic performance, Nora, he murmured as he passed. Enrique always said you had a flair for theatrics. I didn't respond. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Judge Harriman called the room to order. This is most irregular, she began, but given the allegations of threats and new evidence, I've agreed to this emergency hearing. Mrs. Vega, your counsel may proceed. Script part separator ===. Angela rose with practiced calm, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. Your Honor, we're contesting this will on multiple grounds.
First, undue influence.
Second, fraudulent concealment of assets. And third, the testator's criminal activity, which directly impacts the estate's value and liabilities. Marcus's attorney jumped up. Objection! These are baseless accusations from a grieving widow. You'll have your turn, Mr. Fenton, Judge Harriman said sharply.
Continue, Mr. Weber.
What followed was a methodical dismantling of Enrique's carefully constructed facade. Angela presented document after document, the environmental violations, the money trails to shell companies, the falsified reports bearing Elisa's unwitting signature. As you can see, Your Honor, Angela said, projecting bank records onto a screen. Mr. Vega deliberately structured his affairs to shield illegal activities while potentially exposing his wife to criminal liability. I watched Marcus's face throughout the presentation. His confidence slowly crumbled as he realized the extent of our evidence. When Angela revealed Fernando's files showing Richard Chen's suspicious death, he visibly paled. And now, Angela said, I'd like to call Lucia Hernandez to the stand. A collective gasp filled the courtroom. Lucia walked forward, her chin high despite her obvious fear. Ms. Hernandez, please tell the court about the documents Mr. Vega asked you to sign for your son's trust fund. Lucia hesitated before speaking. They weren't just trust documents. They were ownership papers for shell companies in the Cayman Islands. Miguel's name was used to hide assets from federal investigators. Marcus suddenly stood, his face contorted with rage. This is absurd.
You can't believe this.
Sit down, Mr. Reynolds, Judge Harriman ordered. Mrs. Vega, do you have anything to add? I rose slowly, my heart hammering. Your Honor, my husband betrayed not just me, but everyone in this room. The will isn't just unfair, it's part of a criminal conspiracy that has already led to one death. I'm not asking for everything. I'm asking for justice. Judge Harriman's ruling came swiftly. The will was suspended pending criminal investigation. All assets frozen. And as we exited the courthouse, FBI agents were waiting for Marcus. 1 month later, I sat on my porch watching the sunset. The criminal cases were proceeding. Marcus had turned on his former associates, desperate for a deal. Lucia and I had reached our own arrangement. Our children would share Enrique's legitimate assets, once those could be separated from the criminal proceeds. Elise joined me, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. You did it, Mom. I smiled, watching the golden light fade. No, we survived it. There's a difference. The future remained uncertain, but for the first time since that devastating will reading, I felt something like peace. Enrique had believed his secrets would die with him. Instead, they had set me free. The irony wasn't lost on me. Enrique's greatest betrayal had ultimately forced me to find my own strength. As I signed the final settlement papers, I realized that while his deception had destroyed our past, it had inadvertently given me something precious, a future entirely my own.